In this video, I'm going to do a complete walkthrough of the Sorceress class for PoE 2. We're going to go through Act 1 for this video, and then in the other videos we'll go through Act 2 and 3. So anyway, pick your character, make sure you pick the Sorc, she's all the way on the left from the character selection screen, and then we will wake up on the beach. Instead of going to maps, once I got to the end game, I decided to make a brand new character, take no ascendancy, and just use really bad gear and just see how bad it was. We are leveling with cold skills from about halfway through Act 2 onwards, and cold skills do have their advantage because they freeze and chill, so it does make for quite a laid back experience, although this game is still quite difficult. I will be doing my best to give you some extra tips and just trying to keep things flowing in terms of healthy advice instead of just yapping kind of like I am now. To start us off in this video, we're going to be leveling with Spark and Flame Wall. We'll go through each zone, tell you what to do, tell you what not to do, help a little bit with gear, and then we'll go from there. Once you make it to town, you want to talk to the first guy that you see. He's got a quest marker over his head. Get used to this icon, by the way. Grab the skill gem that he's going to give you. This is an uncut skill gem, and you get to choose your skill as a reward. We're going to be taking Flame Wall, and make sure that you socket this on your character on the skills section and bind it on your action bar if you're on keyboard. Put it to something convenient. For example, for me it's the Q key. I'm right clicking for Spark and then I'm pressing Q to put down a Flame Wall. The gameplay for us now is that we're going to be casting Flame Wall in front of us, and then we're going to be casting Spark into the Flame Wall. It's basically going to be our workhorse for getting early game damage, especially as we go into the first boss. What we're going to do here is we're going to enter the burrow, the mud burrow is what it's called. We're just going to clear this zone because the boss at the very end will drop us a skill gem. It's an easy boss. You just, like I said, you put your flame wall down, cast a few sparks, move around, you know, don't stand on top of where he's digging into. It's a really simple boss. You could still die, but just give it a few goes, get used to controlling your character, especially if you're using WASD. I do recommend that you use WASD if you're a caster or if you're like a ranged character. If you're not playing on controller anyway, it's a similar sort of vibe to playing on controller. It just feels really nice to be able to aim and move at the same time. It really goes well with this class. So you beat the Devourer, hopefully you picked up the skill gem, and then you go back to town and you actually get a support gem as a reward. First we're going to use the skill gem. Now you can actually level up one of your existing skills, or you can pick up Frost Bomb if you want to have an extra skill at this point in the game. I chose to just level up my Flame Wall. It will add a little bit of extra fire damage to my Spark projectiles. Now with the support gem, make sure you take Controlled Destruction. If you can't find it, then you can click all gems and find it that way. Make sure that when you make the support gem that you put it into your Spark, and then we're good to go. Once you've set up your skills and your extra support gem, take the waypoint to Clearfell, and you're going to look just for like a little ice trail. It's not too far away. Also, you'll see that the boss that we want to fight is talking. She's making voice lines. You can even see the dialogue box come up on the screen. I turned back because I realized that I actually saw the ice trail. You just want to go and fight this boss now. Again, she's pretty easy. Just make sure that you prioritize keeping your flame wall up and casting your sparks into it. So just try your best to move around and not tank every single ability. Heal up if you need to. Roll away from this little slam that she does, and just keep doing damage, keep pumping. She will die and she'll drop us an item, the green one. The green items are quest related. This one, if you right click it in your inventory, it will give you 10 cold res, and that's a permanent buff to your character. Moving on, we can find the grelwood and then again find the waypoint. We'll come back here, so it's good to just grab the waypoint, and we want to explore this zone to find the Red Vale. The Red Vale is going to be our next quest area. Basically, the premise of this area is that there's 3 obelisks. You click an obelisk and a bunch of enemies will spawn. You kill the enemies and then they'll drop one of 2 pieces. When you go to the 3rd obelisk, it will actually spawn the Rust King. He's the boss of this area. It doesn't really have anything too special. Again, as long as you keep moving, a lot of his damage is telegraphed before it goes off, and these early game fights are basically teaching you the rules of the game, how a lot of the boss fights are going to actually operate. He does spawn a bunch of guys. He'll go like, for the clan, and spawn some guys. But our Spark, and if you have Frost Bomb at this point, those spells will definitely take care of all of the stragglers. So I do take a few hits there, and I actually use up all my flasks, but you'll be better than me. You'll dodge everything, and you'll deal with it easily, or you'll die trying, right? You just give it another try if you die, and with that, we can pick up the quest item and move on. By move on, I mean let's go back to town and get rid of some of the junk in our inventory because we've got to take this quest item. If you haven't bought or sold anything yet, this is a good time to familiarize yourself with the vendors. I always buy a full stack of wisdom scrolls if I'm running out because in PoE2 they're really cheap. It's about 1k gold for 40 wisdom scrolls, and you're going to be identifying a lot of stuff just while you're moving. This disenchanting menu is going to become your best friend later on in the game, at least throughout the campaign. If you disenchant a blue item, you're going to get a transmutation shard, which, when you have 10 of them, becomes a transmutation orb. And the same thing with rare items, you get a regal shard, and if you get 10 of those, you're going to get a regal orb. More on that later, but basically, any blues and yellows that you're not using, particularly if they're small, keep hold of them, and then when you go back to town, disenchant them. Anything that you don't want to disenchant, maybe you need a little bit of extra gold, you can sell those items. Every time you level up in PoE2, your vendors are going to actually reset their inventory. This is really useful for weapons. So some of the mods to look for on wands and staffs is increased spell damage, increased cold or lightning damage, increased mana, plus level to all gems is the best. And a bonus mod is cast speed. If you can cast more, you're doing more damage. So let's take a quick look at the skill tree. You should be level 5 or level 6 at this point. And I recommend that you take the spell damage small nodes and you make your way to raw power. This is the node which is going to give you a lot of extra spell damage and enough intelligence to use your level 3 skill gems. Make sure that you're upgrading your skills and unlock frostbomb if you don't already have it. So once you've finished buying stuff in town, checking out your gear, make sure to grab the quest item from Renly and then come back to the grelwood. You have to use the quest item on the runic seals on the tree at the waypoint to save the hooded guy. And then you can talk to Una back in town, which will complete the quest. Then you've got to come back to the grelwood and look for somewhere called the grim tangle. The grim tangle is just going to be like a cut through zone. Kill a bunch of enemies on your way for some XP, maybe some items, currency, and make it through to the cemetery. So once we make it to the cemetery, there are 2 connected zones. One of them is a mausoleum, which is relatively close to the waypoint. Inside the mausoleum, you will fight Draven. This is a boss that you want to just keep your distance from. Make sure that you're flame walling and you're sending out your sparks. The main attack to avoid during this fight is when Draven stomps the ground. He'll send out a straight green beam of energy. This beam will then erupt outwards, so you want to just try and move up and away from it as far as you can into open space. And then this other spirit, which I believe is the other boss fight we will fight later, she will spawn green circles on the floor. Just try to walk or roll out of them. If you're too slow, just spam your rolls. As you can see here, I actually went the wrong way on the wave. I get punished for it and I trapped myself in a corner. You really just want to position yourself into open space. So here you can see I'm actually moving in the correct direction. Now we have circles on the floor we can move out of. Again, make sure that you roll away and make as much space from this wave that's on the floor. After you beat Draven, you'll be able to go back to the cemetery and we can try and find the Tomb of the Consort, which is the second boss that we have to fight in the cemetery area. At some point, you're going to drop another support gem, and I use this to unlock Unleash, and Unleash will be socketed with Spark and Controlled Destruction. All footage for the remaining of this video will include this in the gem links, so make sure you don't forget this. It's really important and it helps you deal a lot more damage. The second fight again has the green circles on the floor, but we also get a big green circle which you can't walk out of. You're definitely going to be a little bit too slow, so make sure that you roll the big circle after the small ones. Business as usual with casting our flame wall and then casting a bunch of sparks. The other main mechanic that this boss has is that she will encase you in a bunch of bone shards like this. We basically cast our spark to break the wall down and then we can roll out of it. Roll out of the circles like that, that's the proper way to do it. Just keep moving around, free yourself from the bone wall. Put down your flame wall, keep sparking, and she should die. And then we've got both of our quest items, which we can take back to the cemetery gate. Quick skill tree update. We've taken 2 points in cast speed, and now we are going to start taking attribute nodes, so that we can satisfy our gear and support gem requirements. Some pieces of armor require either strength or dexterity, or a mixture of both. Sorceress will have a hard time getting dexterity and strength, so you will have to take this on gear pieces and on the skill tree. In this example, I took some dexterity and I put a shield on, and then I put a rune with some resistance inside the shield, so that we have a little bit more resistances moving forward. This will help you out a ton, so try and get resistances on your gear, or try to pick up gear with sockets on it that you can equip on your character, or that you can solve attributes for. In summary, you want to make sure that you're equipping items that have life on them, as much resistance as you can get, and most importantly, try and get move speed boots as soon as you can. These will change your entire experience because we are so slow by default and there's no other sources of making our character faster, at least during the early game. Once you've defeated both bosses, we can then open up the cemetery gate and we can fight Lachlann, and this guy, he's a bit of a beast. Basically everything that he can do threatens us from up close. If we're further away, we have a lot more time to react to the projectile that he sends out, and all we're going to do is kite him around the statue in the center of the arena, put down our flame wall, cast spark, roll backwards, put a flame wall back down, spark again, just keep at a distance, keep sending out sparks, and roll at anything remotely threatening. You'll defeat this boss and then you will be able to go through to the hunting grounds. We have 3 objectives in the hunting grounds, and 2 of them are to find 2 different locations. One of them is called the freythorn, one of them is to find the ogham village, and the other one is still in the hunting ground, is to find this guy. His name is crowbell? Bell guy? I think his name's crowbell. Same game plan as usual. Put your frost bomb, put your flame wall, and spark. He will run off to a more enclosed arena, which is good for us because spark really excels in a smaller arena. Send out some sparks and he's getting destroyed. He's going to run away for the second time. So once we go to his final arena, we can then frost bomb, flame wall, send out our sparks, and just look at the sparks going nuts off of the wall. Easy boss, easy boss. When you kill this guy, he is going to drop a book of specialization, which is going to give us +2 passive tree points. That's huge. Let's just quickly take another look at the skill tree. Let's grab a few of these attribute nodes as we travel further up the tree to get closer towards our next damage points, which will be a spell damage wheel called Potent Incantation, and then Exploit the Elements will be what we take second. Next, we need to backtrack a little bit through this zone and find the sort of stone cobble road. This will lead us to the Ogham farmlands. We want to go inside the Ogham farmlands, grab the waypoint. There'll be a checkpoint outside a hut. Inside this hut is Una's lute. Now pick up this and then portal back to town and give this to Una, and you will get another book of specialization for another 2 skill points. Travel back to the hunting grounds, and now we need to find the freythorn, which will be an area filled with ritual altars. There's 3 ritual altars that we need to click on, and basically it will revive a bunch of enemies that we've killed around the altars. We can clear this, and then there will be a final ritual altar. For me, it was in the bottom left of the map. It's a huge circular arena. This will be the boss encounter of the zone, where you have to fight the King of the Mists. If you played Affliction League in Path of Exile 1, you will be familiar with this boss fight. However, there's not really too much to it. He has a mechanic where he says, "You are seen," which basically means stand still. Or he says, "Keep running," and that means to keep moving. That's the only real thing you have to do. Our damage is pretty good. As usual, keep moving, keep sparking, and he should die. So make sure you pick up the green quest item, as this will give us +30 to maximum spirit. You can also click on the ritual altar to see if there's any nice fancy rewards. For me, there wasn't really anything worth taking, but you could take a piece of currency or a piece of armor if it suits your build. Just take a look anyway, like it doesn't hurt. If you talk to Finn, he will offer you a charm. Take the sapphire charm, the blue one. This will help us much later for the Act 1 boss, so I really recommend that you grab the cold resist gem. Make sure that you right click the gem bloom skull in your inventory to get your spirit reward, and then if you right click the spirit gem that was dropped, you can allocate Arctic armor. Now put this on your character, make sure you right click the symbol. Arctic armor will make it so that we gain a little bit of extra defenses, and anything that punches us will take cold damage. A lot of the time it will also freeze the enemy, so it's very nice for anything that gets too close to us. Next, we can go back to town and use the waypoint to go to the Ogham farmlands, and you just want to progress through this area, through to the Ogham village, and all the way up to the Executioner fight. The Executioner is going to be your first real test of what you've learned so far. He has a basic attack where he swings his large axe from side to side, and we want to just backpedal away from him during this. And then he will try to leap slam towards you to gap close. You want to roll that sideways if we go again with a swing, and we just move backwards. And now we have one of his 2 red attacks. He flashes red, and for this one specifically, he runs his thumb across his neck, the "you're dead" symbol, and he will drop a massive hammer on the floor. It has a bit of a circular icon, but it's not very easy to see. We essentially just want to sidewalk him, and then here is his second red flash attack. It's a big slam. He holds his axe in the air for a pretty extended amount of time because he's trying to catch you mid-roll. So just sidewalk until you see him try and slam the ground, and then try and roll as far away from him as you can to dodge the AoE, but also the trajectory of the slam itself. The main thing that really will cause you any trouble in this fight is all of the extra enemies that are constantly being summoned. As long as you're sidewalking, you're rolling in the correct direction, you shouldn't really take any damage from the boss. It's just all of his goons that come to get you, and at the end of the fight, you get a little bit swarmed and you end up having to just use a lot more spells. But I genuinely believe that if you followed up until now just the playstyle of this build, I think that you could all do this deathless. Whether or not it took you a few tries, the executioner should now be dead and you can continue on. Go up to the lever and free leitis, and then you will be able to go through to the manor ramparts, which is going to be a huge area for getting extra XP. Go over to the gallows because you will get a free support gem from it, and then make your way into the ogham manor. Before we continue, let's use that support gem, and if we click on frost bomb and then take fast forward, we will put this on our character and it will make our frost bombs explode much faster. This is really nice. I really do recommend that you take this. Inside the manor, you just want to slowly progress, get some levels, and head towards the final boss of Act 1. There is an optional boss in this area, but it only gives you 20 maximum life. I genuinely did not even kill it on this character. I killed it on my first character, but I just couldn't be bothered to go and look for it. You can do it if you want to. It's a very simple fight. As we are approaching the Act 1 boss, it's time to go back to town and just do one more vendor search for a weapon upgrade. Remember, we're looking for good spell damage, mana, plus to gems, and cast speed. We will also buy a belt if we haven't actually dropped one at all. Make sure that you grab a belt and then you put the sapphire charm that we got from the ritual quest into your charm slots. This will make it so that when we take a cold hit, we will get extra cold resistance, as the Act 1 boss does cold damage primarily. Use your skill gems to upgrade your skills if you haven't done that already, and then you should be ready to fight the Act 1 boss. So in phase 1, the Count will do a lunging attack with both hands. We can simply sidewalk this. His other main attack is that he will run with his sword into a wall and then turn around and do a big slash. This slash will take up more than half of the arena, so you want to actually keep your distance even after he runs past you. Another one of his attacks is he will slash 2 times and create 2 ice walls. You can simply just roll out of them, as he will slam between the walls. You don't want to get hit by that. And then you can just position and try to deal some damage. Don't greed for your casts here. It's very easy to just get one tapped or get clipped and use up all your life flasks. Take each mechanic as it comes to you, deal some damage, and then get him low enough to make him go into phase 2. So once he transforms, this will officially be his second phase. He will do a spitting ice shards attack in front of him, which you can sidestep. When he puts his swords into the air, he'll jut it up in the air, and then a bunch of beams of light will come down. During this attack, I recommend that you don't actually attack him at all and just focus on positioning. Same can be said for this slam, where he puts a bunch of white circles on the floor. You just want to reposition yourself. Don't get greedy for damage. He has an attack where he disappears and then a big red circle will appear on the floor and he will teleport to you and slam the ground. You have to recognize that he's doing this attack straight away to be able to walk out of it, and you have to roll towards the end to make sure that you actually dodge out of the circle properly. Once you've done enough damage, he will summon some clouds, a little bit of mist, and you just have to fight enemies inside the middle. He will say a voice line, and then after a short delay, he'll lunge across the screen and try to attack us. If you time your dodge correctly, you will be able to actually move out of the way of this attack, but just take your time, kill some of the minions, and wait for him to resurface so that you can do more damage again. Continue dealing damage, dodging mechanics until the boss goes down, and then congratulations, you defeated the boss. You've got through Act 1 and through this video. So in the next video, in Act 2, we will be transitioning to Cold Sork. Here's a very brief look at the tree, be grabbing the spell damage node, and then you'll be going towards the elemental damage node next. Leave a comment if this helped you out, or if you had anything that you struggled on. I do read and answer all comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in part 2.